what kind of like, I worry for you. Some of the stuff you said, but then again, maybe going public with it is your best protection.
Well, I don't, I have no interest in dying. I've lived a good life, and et cetera, et cetera. But also, too, I'm not going to. There's no way I can back down. I'm already committed. I'm completely committed. I'm earlobe committed as far as to this whole thing, getting this thing done, and basically making some real interesting change. But incidentally, also too, people who've actually been abducted, there's a high rate, abnormally high rate of suicide. And my cousin, who is George's grandson, out in the desert, he had begged my mother to, when we were living in town in the LA County area, we had moved away from there. He begged my mother if he could just sleep on our couch, for a while, because he couldn't handle all of the visitations and I guess he was living out in the area, and at the time it was rampant. He couldn't handle it anymore. Well, eventually he killed himself. About 19. He blew his brains out. He couldn't handle it.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot to handle for somebody as young. I mean,
it is.
How about you? I mean, has it caused you any emotional scarring from a child on?
Oh yeah, I had a suicide attempt at 12 because I couldn't because a lot of stuff kept on permeating. I was not adjusting, so I literally had a suicide attempt with alcohol and with barbiturates. I literally tried to kill myself. And boy, that was an event too. I was literally saved. I actually got that in the. I'm not sure. I got some rendition of that in the book. But what I did was I took a bunch of these barbiturates, and I drank some wine, and I literally I was in a field. I believe I died, and I was brought up into I was protected. I was brought up into this really miraculous cellular wall, and I was actually, whatever the entity was fully. This is an interesting thing too, because the color was so vivid, and it was all molecular, and it was all cellular, and it was telepathically talking. I was standing from this endless wall of these color cellular things, and it told me that I was. It pointed to where I was in the whole scheme of things, whole universal things, and it's told me where I was at that time, and it blinked off and on there. So this is where you're at here, and this is where you'll be before you'll pass from this body. And it was substantially higher. He says, you need to learn all of this before this here, and to never do this again. Never, ever, ever take this. And I got the message that I will be protected. I was told I will be protected, but I'm not to leave until this time period. Now, here's the backdrop of that. Okay, too. Now, I've been ran over by a car. I've been ran over by a car. I fell 3 stories off a building.
Oh wow!
I've had guns. Have guns, knives, all kinds of. I mean, spectacular events where I was in harm's way, and it all dissipated. The third story fall, I landed on concrete, and I had no injury. I was brought to the hospital, and they did X-rays, and I had no broken bones at all.
How about bruising?
I got almost nothing. They sent me home. They said there's nothing wrong with you. They sent me home. I got hit head on by a Volkswagen, ended up in the hospital, and I had a little chip in my cheek, my head was swollen up. But I lived through that, and so I had all these really extraordinary events that occurred. But I always walked. I got ran over by a car. I got ran over by a '63 Impala underneath the back wheels, and I had a yellow shirt. I was on a 10-speed, and the car had ran over, and I had tire tracks over my stomach. And
wow!
I wasn't hurt. The ambulance came, and the cops came. Said, "Well, you need to go to the hospital." I go, "Well, no." I said, "No, I don't. I'm fine." And they says, no, you have to go to the hospital. I said, you've been run over by a car. I had these tire tracks up over by that thing. But, I had a little scratch, a little road rash, but that was it. But it's endless. I mean, I had a pinto hit me in the left leg of my whole thing, run over my bike, propel me on. So I get up and I walk around. I've had so many near death experiences, as far as that. I mean, literally, I mean, it's almost like, and even today, I mean, I don't have any physical ailments as far as like, I don't have arthritis. I mean, heck, I run. I mean, I'll be 60 in May, and
you're a
I
kid
run
yet.
every other day. I'm a kid, but yeah, but still, I mean, but still, I'm a kid that I should be. I mean, I should be in a wheelchair, but I'm not. And so that was the promise of that whole event. Anyways, getting back to that, so that was real for me. So after that, I never ever tried to take my life ever again. But I was read the Riot Act as far as no, there's something you have to do. So it's somewhat compelling as far as that goes. But yeah, the whole suicide rate is abnormally high, and simply because it has to do with integrating, the super sensible world and all the events that come along with it. It's simply, you just don't, it's just so abnormal that you simply don't, you're a misfit. You're an absolute misfit on planet Earth once you've actually had this, because you're different, as far as that goes. So, anyway, but yeah, when getting into that, yeah, I mean, that was, so that was the whole thing. I guess what I did get back with the young lady that I kind of did she was worried about her sobriety.
Yeah.
And regardless of my, need to get whatever message out, I had to respect it, and so I backed off, because I certainly didn't want to be responsible for having somebody, become screw up their sobriety and screw up the way of life. But that's what that was a phenomenon, and that was that event happened in 2003. Now, which is good, because now I've ran into all kinds of people around Giant Rock, and again, part of the benefit of me being out here, and as far as this, in fact, I just got an email. It was right after Friday's show. I got an email from a guy telling me about his experience out there with my uncle and with my Aunt Eva, which I thought. But I get these on a regular basis. People I would never hear from had I not been out. I mean, and so the ongoing research, which I knew a lot of people out there, and most of the principals during that time period, we're talking about circa 1950, 1960. Well, most people in that whole era. My uncle died in '78. I mean, the ministry collapsed before. I mean, the whole deal collapsed. I mean, he literally had a newsletter that went out to 150,000 people.
Wow, that's
all over the world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. Back in those days, those are real numbers. As far as that.
Yeah, because no internet, no nothing. So I mean,
right,
right, word of mouth.
So, yeah. So what happened out there, as far as raising consciousness and, as far as that with what my uncle was doing and the group that they had done was very, very powerful in an extraordinary way. I laugh at L. Ron Hubbard and people, the Scientologists, they get really, really teed off at me because him and Jack Parsons, they went out there to my uncle used to do, channeling sessions every Friday, and he was very famous as far as that stuff. So a lot of people joined in and wanted to talk to him about that. Well, L. Ron Hubbard, he was out there, and Jack Parsons, his experience, where he was experimenting with rocketry and all that stuff. He was out in Fontana, which is less than 30 miles away. They were. It was a who's who of everyone in all this covert intelligence, and people.
Didn't you even say Howard Hughes was involved at one point too? Howard
Hughes was out. Howard Hughes used to kind of laugh. He used to laugh that he'd go out. My aunt and uncle, they had a restaurant, and I use the word. It was a restaurant. It was a restaurant, but it was kind of a baling wire restaurant type thing. It wasn't your Denny's. It was out in the middle of nowhere, and he used to joke that he would fly his plane out there to have a piece of my Aunt Eva's boysenberry pie, which my and he would just go out there. But if you go into the Integratron, which actually there's no metal in the Integratron, which is still standing right now. They still got people going out there. I drove out there. We were doing some filming on a documentary a few weeks ago, and people are out there. I mean, and they make a lot. They actually make a lot of money renting the place out for sound baths, because people have actually commented on how tranquil and how a lot of cancer survivors and a lot of people who are ill go out there, which was what it was designed for.
Uh-huh.
Which is a rejuvenation machine. And Howard Hughes, this is the connection. Okay, first of all, there's no metal there. Okay, now this is the myth versus the realities of the whole thing. The rejuvenation machine was out there was a molecular cell rejuvenation machine. So there's no metal in the building. And it is a very, very calming present. It's a dome shaped building out in the middle of the desert, built on coordinates that Captain Bruce Cathy said that had direct correlation to the pyramids and also with Stonehenge.
Uh-huh.
That there was some sort of correlation as far as the energy belt that went through there. And I can't argue with people who claim that they've had, been helped by it. I used to play in it when I was a little kid. I used to go inside there. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. It'd been since after my uncle had died. It's been sold 3 or 4 different times, but the recent people have kind of they rent it out, and people go there and get. But its original design was a contemplative cell rejuvenation machine / time machine. In fact, in Life magazine, my uncle's standing in front of it.
What did it look like?
Like a dome, like a dome out of something in the Mideast. It's almost like it's a white dome, and it's so displaced out in the middle of nowhere. It's out in the desert. This white dome it's just a giant, almost like a mosque almost.
How big around was it? How big was it?
Well, it still is. I mean, as far as
the size of it.
I mean, the size of it. It's the size of. Let me see. What would that be? I should have this off my tip of my tongue, but I don't. But I guess I compare it to something like, let's say, 50 by 50. In a round circular way.
Okay.
And and people go there and they take a thing called sound baths, which I'm in conflict with the owners. My biggest thing that I made the mistake of commenting. I had a radio girl ask me, well, if I was happy about them charging a lot of money for people to go to it, and I said no. So now the people that are the owners now. My uncle wanted it to be. It was my family built it. Okay, my uncles took donations, and no one was supposed to have to pay any money to go through it. Okay, that was the promise because of all the because he was getting messages from extraterrestrials that were telling him how to build it in the right way, and part of the whole thing is all nonprofit. Well, it's very profitable. Now the people they're making a lot of money on it. I mean,
taking advantage of it. Yeah.
They are, and so I was asked, and I was asked by Terry Joyce, and she asked me what I thought. I said, well, I don't really like it. I said because it wasn't Howard Hughes kicked in money for it. A lot of people donated money. A lot of people donated time and labor in building this structure out there, and it really was designed to give people to further their health benefits and to get whatever benefits of it. So it kind of lost its image. And granted, we live in a materialistic society right now and all that. And that was so now now I'm not a popular guy at the
I don't think you would be. I mean, if the guy, yeah, if the guy's buying, is probably putting food on his table and
Yeah.
or more, but question.
No, it's more